Yes, people. We're back again. Raps on TV, talking the best in boxing, letting the music play out as we do. So it's Tuesday, fresh out of work for me. And Rafi's living a big life. But yeah, we're out here in London. Looking forward to talk about boxing. I had a busy weekend. Very active in terms of being out on the scene and getting back and watching some boxing late night. Lots of developments while I was out. So I think it was a really good sort of London boxing night. What would you say, Rafi? And I should say I'm here with my co-host, Rafi.
Yeah, cheers for that, Coach. It was a fantastic evening of boxing. And I think that in spite of the entertainment, it was a little bit short-lived. And I thought that aside from the main event, that was sort of the common theme throughout the evening. But nevertheless, a very good night of boxing.
Yeah, I mean, even the Richards fight, which was, again, short-lived, but was entertaining, because there was knockdowns in every single round. So I definitely understand your perspective. But yeah, it was definitely good. Saw some announcements as well. So guys, listen, as always, want to say a big thank you to everyone that supports week in, week out, whether it's calls, whether it's reposting, whether it's liking on all of the social media outlets. We love that and continue to do that because 2019, we're definitely looking to go hard in the bank, as they say. So guys, listen, going to dive into the agenda. So really, the agenda this week is, and I should say, because that is quite important, we do have a special guest this week. So this week, we will be joined by none other than Chris Eubank Jr. ahead of his fight against James DeGale over in the London O2 on February the 23rd. So really looking forward to getting some insight of how training's been for him, what he's been since, the McDonough fight, which was in obviously Abu Dhabi or Dubai, but previously it was a George Groves fight, how he's working with Nate Vasquez. Really looking forward to kind of dive into some questions and hear what he's got to say to himself. Very articulate young man. We should also be joined very last minute, but nonetheless very much wanted, Craig Richards. Craig Richards, who won on Saturday, beating Jake Bull by a third round stoppage. Has moved up to light heavyweight. It's been a very interesting last 12 months for that young man, and looking forward to kind of talk with him about his ability to win that WBA Intercontinental belt. Obviously, on the Saturday night, we had Kovalev versus Alvarez. That was part 2, rematch. Everybody felt it was going to go Alvarez's way. I did too. I thought Kovalev was a drunkard. That was it. But he made his way back into it. So, yeah, he won that fight. We'll touch on that. Also, my Neto, my compatriot, Richard Comey finally wins a world title at the third time of asking. Great performance, second round knockdown. So again, short fight, but great performance against Chaniev, a much sort of feared Russian. But he showed what us Ghanaians do. We got that power, baby. And then this weekend we're talking about Gervonta Tank Davis versus Ruiz. Ruiz steps in for Abner Mares, who's had an eye injury in the last 2 weeks. And we will be discussing other boxing news from here on inwards. But Rafi, straight back to you.
Yeah.
What did you make of Saturday night, and what was your pick of the fights?
I thought Saturday night, across the board, was very good. In terms of individual fights, I felt that, the highlight for me had to be the main event, not just because it went the 4 rounds, but because of the quality of opponents on either side of the ring. But it was, I think it was a development night. I think that's the best way of putting things, and in that regard, because for someone like Lawrence Okoli, Felix Cash, to get that exposure, and it's just a building process. It's a building block process, and they weren't going to be winning titles against those sort of guys, but, it's part of the process, as they say.
Yeah, and I guess really, that's the next crop of fighters coming through. So, we're going to see them in first round knockouts. It happens. So I think the key thing there is just being able to, just being able to sort out some technical difficulties there. 1 minute. What's wrong? Yeah, 1 minute. If you go like that.
Did it just cut?
Yeah.
Okay, just call it again.
No, it's in credit.
Okay, yeah, I'll do it quickly.
Yeah. Can you do it from here? Or?
I think I'll just do it. I can't remember. I'll do it from here.
Yeah. All right, guys, so we're going to keep on going because on one platform, we are live. That's still
Yeah,
so we're still recording. And for anybody dialed in, just stay patient with us. That's not good. But yeah, Rafi, remind me what was you saying because of technical hitch.
Yeah, I think it would be a good idea to go through the fights as well.
Yeah. So starting with, there was a chap called Dan Zaxa, one of the early cards. I saw a bit of interaction with him on the Instagram page. Seems to be one of the prospects coming through. I think cruiserweight, heavyweight division. I'm not sure. What did you? I mean, we probably didn't watch that fight, but seems like he done well.
Yeah, it was a building block. I think it's fair to say that across the board, but I think it's probably a bit more important someone like Felix Cash or Lawrence Okoli at this stage of their careers, because they're on the fringe of that domestic frontier.
Of course, yeah.
And obviously, as a platform to then catapult to the next level, European, this is essential.
This is essential, yeah. And then you're looking at... because I saw the Felix Cash, that was the first fight that I watched, actually. So, yeah, watching that, really strange, like straight, it was really a straight knockout. I didn't think it was going to be that easy, but Felix Cash has been working hard. You know, behind the scenes, he's doing a lot of good work. You can't really talk about what he displayed that night because, you know, as a boxer, the opponent wasn't one of the biggest challenges. So really, it was kind of like use your hook, use your jab, and you kind of got him out there. So I don't think there was much on display. But I think, you know, like you said, he's able to catapult himself to the next stage.
I think it's also worth noting that he did actually get caught a couple of times. Nothing concussive, but and he wasn't the only one either. I thought similar things happened in Lawrence Okoli's fight as well. He took a couple of shots, but as I said, you know, that's part of the process. It's better to take them now as opposed to, you know, world level guys.
Yeah, exactly. So, so for me, after that, you had who was.
We had Felix Cash, Lawrence Okoli, and then, of course, Craig Richards against Jake Paul. You know, that was a fantastic display by Craig Richards on Saturday. Yeah. And I think he's sort of been put at quite a disadvantage in that regard based on the fact that people sort of took the Buglioni loss at face value, not realising that Craig had taken that on 5 days' notice. Yeah. And he gave a really good account of himself. And to some extent... I think that without that Buglioni loss, he wouldn't have done as well as he would have on Saturday. So I think that was imperative and part of the process. And obviously, now he's campaigning against the other light heavyweights in the division domestically, and he's right in the mix. I mean, there's obviously Anthony Yarde, Josh Buatsi, Callum Johnson sitting top of the tree because of the opponents they fought and through the hype trains that are pushing them. But there's no reason as to why... that big three domestically can't expand to a big four off the back of Craig Richards' fantastic display on Saturday evening. Yeah, and I think, you know, you kind of hit the nail on the head there in regards to the domestic level. I mean, I do think it's going to be really tough, but I think there's some big fights they can really make some, you know, interesting fights for him. I mean, 100%.
You just got to look at, like you say Yarde, but then obviously Buatsi's the other big name in that division.
And even the others.
And I was going to say the Burtons, So for me, it's going to be interesting. I mean, he's already challenged Buglioni. And he done a good account for himself. So
on 5 days' notice.
Exactly.
You know? But people at face value it's still an L is an L, but on 5 days' notice. Exactly. And Frank Buglioni was a domestic champion, so onwards and upwards for Craig Richards, most definitely. Yeah,
exactly. So for me, we really need to just see what's next. I was really impressed with the way Craig... I mean, it was really interesting watching watching him... for the password. Watching him stopping because... the first round was quite cagey, you know. Jake Paul was showing a bit of hand speed. And they were kind of just facing off each other, you know, like shifting.
Yeah.
Jake Paul was coming in, and then all of a sudden he just came in and went bam.
It was really evenly poised, and I think that if anything, for myself, I had Jake Paul edging those rounds very slightly. There wasn't a lot in it, and then you get out of jail wild card, as they say. He pulled it out of the bag, Craig Richards.
Exactly.
And then he did it again. And that's the thing. He showed a lot of maturity as well, because a lot of guys would have just jumped on Jake Paul in the first round after putting him down. He waited. The second round came through. Again, he put him down, and the onus wasn't on him to finish it there and then. Mm-hmm. Craig wanted to show that he can break someone down systematically, not... show immaturity in that regard and just go all guns blazing unnecessarily.
I think he showed great ability there, because if you think he's come up from super middleweight, and we will get into to Jake Paul, but I think he's come up from super middleweight. He's fighting at light heavy, fighting, you know, how can I say, reasonable caliber guys, and he's stepped up. And like I said, Buglioni didn't get stopped. Like I said, short notice. Jake Paul, his preparation. Jake Paul, pulled out twice or once, at least on one occasion. And then I just don't remember what happened with the second one. But I just and so he's pulled out. So Craig Richards clearly he's wanting this fight. And he's delivered. I mean, the atmosphere, that he set up was great.
His fan base too.
That's what I mean.
That took me back because I was in the stands in the mid-tier.
You say mid-tier, but you had good seats. Man. you were ringside mid-tier.
The best you're going to get for 36 quid, but there you go.
Yeah.
Not all of us can have ringside Kojo, but
it's the connects.
It's the connections.
Shout out to the connects. But yeah, so you're right. The fan base was fantastic. When he came out of the ring, they totally swamped him, and I thought, yeah, you know what? That fair play. So for me, I just hope he can really build on this. I hope they can manage him well because you do feel, and I think you may have said this, if not today, in the past, we said you really felt for either or it was a crossroads. And because now I'm going to come on to Jake Paul and be like, he's lost third round knockouts, put down in every single round.
Yeah.
JJ McDonough, he got wiped out in the first round completely. That was a few years ago. So you kind of say to yourself, what's wrong with his chin? If that's the question.
Yeah, I mean, there are chin worries there, and I think what would make that even more concerning for Jake Paul is that, and I say this with the greatest respect to Jake Paul, but these are domestic level fighters who he's struggling to struggling to cope with regards to power, and all we can sort of gauge from that is that there's a thick glass ceiling embedded upon his progress with regards to the levels he operates in boxing, and domestically. I mean, again, it may sound harsh. I wouldn't put Jake Paul in the top 6 after that display on Saturday. I thought a win would have catapulted him back into the mix along the similar lines to Hosea Burton, for example. But now, in the absence of that, Craig Richard did fantastically. And I think the onus could also have been on him to have followed in the footsteps of the first loss that Jake Paul was inflicted. And when he was put down in the first round, he did, as I said, he showed a lot of maturity. And again, he's 27, Craig Richards. And for a guy who's 27 to have done that, I mean, we do see it with boxers as they mature, but the onus is more in your 30s, you're less inclined to sort of go on the forefront offensive. So it's fantastic to see that.
Yeah, no, definitely. It was fantastic to see. And then next up was the... actually, it was the Ward.
It was the Ward, Fabio Ward.
Ward, yeah. What did you make of that?
Oh, Mr. Italy, Fabio Wardley. I thought that, again, it was a building block fight. He got rid of his man in the first round, and I think it's just part of the process, one of those things that had to be done. I think the platform would have been different for Fabio Wardley. Boxing on a stage like that isn't a regular occurrence for him, of course, so to have had that exposure on that kind of platform would have bode very well for his progress.
Yeah, and I think it's quite interesting that he's being managed by Dillian Whyte.
Yeah, most definitely.
And Dillian Whyte seems to have a bit... I think he's going to build a stable. I'd really be interested. I'll tell the guys, keep an eye out because I think he's going to sign a few more people in the background.
Yeah.
But yeah, he seemed to be... I mean, what did you make of his performance?
I thought the performance was... Well, it was a concussive finish, most definitely. And he sort of peppered him until then. Not a lot was coming back. But again, that's what you sort of expect from this level of opponent. With regards to Dillian specifically... that really did make things interesting because obviously it's public knowledge that all is not well in the Matchroom stable at the moment, or that's what's been perceived by the masses anyway. And so you're sort of inclined to think, was Dillian there for other reasons, maybe to set a precedent that I'm not intimidated, or was that genuinely he was there for Fabio Wardley?
Yeah,
Who knows?
He was definitely genuinely there for Fabio Ward. I mean, indeed, he's a guy that signed to him, guy that's trying to promote. You could argue it's his first big card. I know the card wasn't huge, but it's his first big card in terms of televised network. So you would imagine that's what he would be there to support. So I think that's to be expected. And I know we'll touch on that slightly in a bit, but I think if you look at White, I think he kind of made a big statement on Saturday night without fighting.
Yeah.
You know, and we're going to touch on his interviews, but, you know, being there in the ring, how he was composed, how he's managed himself. Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. Like I said, I think everyone should keep their eye out for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. Did you see a different side to Dillian, the business face, instead of the guy we all know from Brixton who loves smashing people up? Did you see a different side to Dillian, the business face on?
Yeah, no, I didn't, to be fair.
Thank you for calling Call-In Studios host and call screener line. Enter your
people. Number. Yeah, so no, I didn't. I won't say. I think in his interviews generally he's calmer, but I think it's the performances. You know, for me.
Welcome, host. You are now in the host room and can manage your
for me,
callers
I think,
from the call.
Excuse that, everybody. That's technical difficulties. Jesus, I need to do that. Sorry, people. We are having, it's the rain. It's first week of February, so we're there.
British weather, people.
Come on.
Although saying that is an improvement on snow.
Thank you for calling Call-In Studio. Welcome, host. You are now in the host room and can manage your callers from the call-in
for me, I
studio
do think
interface.
It's a case of him being like more confident because he's getting wins. He's getting more money, so you get more money. Typically, you get calmer. You should do. And yeah, I think he's getting love more than anything. And I remember seeing this last year at York Hall when he was Okoli versus not Chamberlain. Obviously, that was 0-2. The next guy, the Duke Watkins,
between Askin and
it was Duke Watkins, not Askin. It was definitely Duke Watkins. And I remember thinking, oh man, like he was getting a lot of love. Like he was getting a lot of love. People were just coming up to him, wanting to take pictures.
The Hackney faithful.
Yeah. No. Well, not Okoli. This is Dillian White. I'm saying Dillian White. Yeah, Dillian White was getting a lot of love. And I think he has changed, and he's a lot more confident. And I think, you know, that video where you saw him being interviewed and Hearn popped in, and like I thought that was beautiful. I'm going to be honest, because I felt for me there was a dynamic of him saying to Eddie Hearn, like, you're offering us 50-50, so we'll say, or 60-40, so we say, okay, no, we'll take that, but or you give us 50-50 and then there's no rematch, or we give you 50-50 and in a rematch you get this. So we're like, look, just reciprocate. And I think that's the real issue. You know, obviously a big fan of Joshua. I think he's a credit to the sport. But I think that reciprocation thing is becoming an issue because you can't now say, I fight you, you got 3 belts, I got 1 belt. You get 60%, I get 40%. I say, if I win now and I've got 4 belts, you should only be taking, it should be the same. So if you took 60 in the first round fight, I should do the same. And it's kind of like, no, I need 50-50. And it's like, you're not going to get any deals done like that because you want a clear, unfavourable hand. And if you think you're so marketable without your belts, which potentially you are, then make money on your marketing, do all your commercial deals, you do that and leave that to the rest. So, yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. But, yeah, I was very intrigued with that. And then let's quickly touch on the main fight, Cheeseman versus Garcia. I got to say, Rafi takes, and he was like, guys, I think Cheeseman's not going to do this. I think, you know, Garcia's just going to show levels and, he's going to show different type of skill set. And I think this is just too early for Cheeseman. And you got it spot on because it was way too early for Cheeseman, ability-wise. You know, being in the arena and you're around, again, his friends, you feel like, come on, and he's hunting him down. But, man, he just got outworked.
Yeah, I think, and I say this with the greatest of respect to Ted Cheeseman as well, because I think he showed a lot of heart in that fight. And that's something that really goes under the radar.
Yeah.
I felt that at times he did break through, but it was very short-lived, the success. 2 punches would get in, and then when looking to go forward on the front foot again, it would sort of be neutralised because Garcia would use his movement and weaving in and out.
Yeah, and it was weird because sometimes Garcia would just stand in front of him but not do anything.
Yeah.
He would just stand in front of him and Cheeseman couldn't land, or if he did land, it wasn't powerful enough. I think there was one round, I think everybody's round is always the 7th, but I think it was between 6 and 8, or 6, 7 and 8, there was one round where Cheeseman really came on and you felt he might get a stoppage because he was connecting quite well. But again, the issue of being in the arena is that, you know, I was surrounded by a bunch of Bermondsey boys, so they were all cheesemen, like, no doubt. And it was literally, when he hit him, I think with an uppercut or something, they were like, yeah, but you think actually he wasn't really that bad, you know, because I watched it on TV. And
of course,
like, it's not actually that bad. So, interesting one. And guys, just to say, don't forget, we do have Eubank Jr on the show, calling in. He will be within the next our next 30 minutes. So yeah, if you are listening or you're listening in the future, stay tuned. But yeah, so with Cheeseman, where do you think he goes from here?
I think it's back to the drawing board. Mm-hmm. He has to reassess. I think he just needs a completely new game plan against that type of level of opposition. Mm-hmm. And building block fights isn't necessarily the answer. Maybe domestic dust-ups against Anthony Fowler, for example. Mm-hmm. But again, where is that fight now? Is that a fight before Saturday night? Would that have sold out the O2 Arena?
No way.
No.
No. Even if Cheeseman had won,
it wouldn't have sold out.
It would have sold out.
Yeah. And so now it's going to be.
I think it's the same. I think for me, the thing is with Fowler, I think that fight can still be made. I think it's still an interesting fight. I think the sad part was, so where I was sitting, and I thought it was very interesting, was that all the Olympic boys were there. So Cordina was there.
That was a nice touch, yeah.
And not even just, Conor Ben was there, but Cordina was there. Kelly was there. Edwards was there. Sonny Edwards was also there. And obviously Fowler was there. So it's kind of like they were all, and I found that quite good because it's like these are the Matchroom boys, you know, when they're all there.
The stablemates.
The stablemates. But interestingly enough, you obviously have seen, but you saw the run-in between Josh Kelly and Ben, and that was hilarious because Ben didn't say nothing when Josh Kelly was in front of him, and neither did Josh Kelly.
Yeah.
But then when there was like 3 rows in between, he was like, "Are you fucking shut up? Are you shut?"
Yeah, it was a bit of a strange one. I saw that on social media. I didn't actually see it on the night.
Yeah, because they were right, like he was right in front of me, so I was like,
"You are, yeah."
I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, you were sitting there with your popcorn.
Yeah, exactly. Just like, yep, get me some tea. Kermit the Frog. But yeah, so for me, I think that was good. But yeah, for Cheeseman, I think, you know, where does he go from here? I will say I do like Cheeseman. I respect him. I rate him. I think he showed massive flaws on Saturday night, namely defence.
Yeah,
you can't come up against European level fighters
and
drop your hands that low. It's ridiculous.
And you'd have thought someone in the corner would have said something. It's not even a case of, you know, the odd punch slips in with your hands low. It was sort of inviting the shots, but he wasn't able to be evasive.
Continuous. I mean, exactly. And that's what I think where the girl does well is the girl has his hands low, but he does bob and weave a bit so you can see the movement of his head. For me, I felt, nah, not at all with Cheeseman. And I like him. I think he can come back, but I don't think... You know, I will be honest, I thought maybe in about 4 or 5 years he could win a world title. Yeah. Because he's young. But I don't see that happening now. I think he's really going to struggle to do anything of the sort.
Was that the case that Sergio Garcia was just that good or Ted Cheeseman was that poor? Because I was really impressed with Sergio Garcia.
Yeah, I would say
really
Garcia,
impressed.
Yeah, I think it's what you're saying. He was that good. Is he the best? And that's the flip side. I think no. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, let's look at the world level welterweights. Like, where does super world? What does Garcia do there against Jarrett Hurd, Erislandy Lara?
What about Kell Brook? The Kell Brook that faced. I know. You just pulled a face. I mean, fair play.
No, I'm thinking about it. No. It's because that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
It's. I mean, Kell Brook on the basis of his last performance.
Yeah. Against Garcia. Yeah.
Against who did Kell play in his?
No,
Zarafa.
But you think Kell Brook could challenge Garcia?
I think that would be a really close fight, but Kell wouldn't take it because there's no money spinner.
Yeah, and I was going to say exactly, and I mean, everyone's going to say, yeah, that's obvious, but no, we've got to have these types of discussions.
Yeah.
And I would agree with you, and I think also, even the belt is an interesting.
It's
the money spinner,
dynamic.
the interesting bit. It could be a money spinner because look, you could potentially fill out some arenas, and now Garcia's just beat Cheeseman, and Sky Sports were like waxing lyrical. You imagine when Matchroom do their Spain deal, he will be a part of their fight. So it's
100%.
It's not, you know what I mean? It's not implausible. I'm sure they kind of put him here to say, yeah, we're going to launch you out to the market. He had a big fan base as well, Garcia, about 200 fans. They weren't quiet.
Similar to Usyk, actually, when he was brought over for the
value
fight.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, it's not impossible. But I just like you. I think Kell Brook wouldn't take it because Kell Brook's got one thing. Amir Khan.
Yeah. Do you know what? The thing is that because of how sour a taste that has left in people's mouths, they have to be, and when I say they, I mean Matchroom, they have to be really careful in who they pick for Kel next because another journeyman, or Zarafa wasn't a journeyman, but another opponent of that caliber, no one's going to buy tickets. Forget Sky viewers, like no one's going to buy tickets.
And even his loyal fans of Sheffield might, because they want to see something interesting. Like when it was Errol Spence, that was a big night. It was a big competitor, and your man Super Gilbert was the champion.
And maybe Amir Khan's pulled a MasterCard because he's pulled a masterstroke because instead of the world saying, oh, they were too scared to fight each other, Khan went and fought Crawford.
Exactly.
If Brook goes and fights a nobody, it's sort of like, oh, Brook was always hanging on for. So Amir Khan is...
Amir Khan definitely pulled a master. I think that's...
The puppet master Khan.
Yeah, I think, but the problem is, I think he has burnt a bridge for himself because Matchroom, if you know, and this is just me being honest, like, Hearn wasn't at the press conference.
Yeah.
New York or London. I don't believe he's going to be at the fight because they're looking at announcing another fight that night for one of their UK fighters. So if that happens, he's definitely not going.
Would you, if you're in his position?
Yeah, I guess I can see why he's got a bit of a sour taste because, like, the third fight of the 3-contract deal you gave him, he's fighting Crawford. He's got no chance of not being bad against Amir Khan, but do you know what I mean? Realistically, he's got no chance of winning. So, yeah, I definitely see your point. I just think it's business, though, isn't it? And I think at the end of the day, to, I'm not saying rub shoulders, but you've engaged with Top Rank. I would say go, but yeah, I think, you know, he's not interested because I guess he does. The same point. It's like, and that's going to be sad for Amir because once, you know, he wins, that the fight takes place, he loses in the change room. You know, typically your promoter is there or whatever. Like, okay, he's going to have his family, but he's not really going to have a promoter, and everyone will say, "What's next?" And it's like, I'll see what's out there. So that's going to be interesting. But you know what? I see Tom's on the line, so let's quickly open it up for Tom. Let's get his thoughts. So Tom, how you doing, sir?
How you doing, boys?
Not bad.
Not too bad, man. How about yourself?
Yeah, good, man. I've been listening to from about 10 minutes ago. I just got in the door, so
no
I was about to stick the kettle on, but got priorities. So
yeah, no worries. So what's on your mind, mate?
Yeah, no, to be honest, Rafi hit the nail on the head there. His prediction was spot on. I just want to kind of raise one point is about the golfing class from British to European level. I mean, a lot of people nowadays think that once a fighter wins the British title, that the jump up in class to European fringe level is an easy ride. It's not. Obviously, we've seen with Cheeseman on the weekend, very technically sound fighter, but I think Garcia boxed superbly. We saw it with Skeet against Lagaraga for the European. We saw it with Ritson against Patera. And it's been kind of a recurring theme, really, about British fighters climbing up to the European class. And I just think there is a massive golfing class. And I think Okoli could be the same. If he faces a Masternak for the European title, that can be a challenging fight. So I just think the golfing class, I'm not necessarily saying that Cheeseman was underprepared or that it was at the wrong stage of his career. I just think there is that kind of leap that fighters probably aren't equipped for at this stage of their career. So that's probably all I could assess from the weekend. But yeah, no, great show and great coverage as always from you guys.
Appreciate it, man. And you touched on recently that domestic level fighters have really struggled in that transition to the next level. With regards to Ched Cheeseman specifically, is there a thick glass ceiling that he hit on Saturday night? Or how do you see... Yeah. Oh, sorry, you go on.
No, go on, finish your question, sorry.
No, I was going to say, how do you see him coming back? Or do you think he's hit the thick glass ceiling and that's as far as it goes?
Well, I think 15 fights in, you kind of need fighters to be not necessarily fast-tracked too quickly, but they do need tests. I think the Carson Jones fight was a tough fight in terms of a learning fight. He needed that. But I think 100%. Just Garcia, to be honest, I think a lot of people have said it as well, ringside. I wasn't at the fight, so I'm not too sure exactly how the fight played out. But I think Garcia's nothing special. Like, he does everything well, but there's no kind of star quality there. He's just a very technically sound fighter, similar to Cheeseman, but he was just able to go through the gears a lot quicker. he was able to establish his jab a lot quicker, keep Cheeseman away from close range.
Yeah.
And Cheeseman, I think, just walked onto far too many shots for his own good. His hands were low, and he was just using his face really as a deterrent. And it was kind of, I'm glad that the fight, wasn't. It could have been stopped way earlier. Maybe they could have thrown the towel in 9th, 10th. But I think that kind of sums up Cheeseman's style. He's relentless. He's willing to take a shot to give one back, but he just wasn't busy enough in the fight.
He wasn't, and it was a recurring theme being caught flush. One thing that you mentioned specifically was that you weren't that impressed with Garcia. You just thought he got through the gears quicker, so to speak. Do you not believe that his evasiveness could cause someone in the top 10 problems?
I definitely think he's a world level fighter. I don't think he's quite the caliber like the Munguias, the Harrisons, the Laras. Yeah, I don't think he's of that caliber. But no, there's nothing to say that he can't challenge those guys. Most likely he will get a world title shot probably next. But I think just the likes of Hurd will be able to neutralise him and use his range. I suppose Garcia can do a lot of things to upset fighters. He can do a lot to put fighters on their toes and bring the fire. But I just don't think he does anything superb. He just does everything solid.
And do you think there could be any, from a marketability point of view, do you think that he could spearhead Matchroom's conquest in Spain? Definitely. Like I touched on there, the Lagaraga guy, there's the possibility that he could get a world title shot if he breaks into the rankings. What's to say that they can't grow a stable of fighters from Spain? It would be good to have the likes of Garcia, because you have Fowler coming up, you have Fitzgerald, you have all these domestic fighters. Definitely.
I think Fowler touched on it after the fight. He said the Cheeseman fight's a bit kind of dead now because obviously the fashion in which he lost. But like you said, if he wants to win a British title, Cheeseman can drop down. There's no shame in losing at European level at this stage. He can come back down, defend his belt, and be in big fights.
I couldn't agree more with that. And you think that with regards to Ted Cheeseman specifically, that he can't go forward with that Fowler fight anytime soon?
I don't think there's as much hype now generated. I think it's definitely an all-British fight that people would still like to see, but I just don't think the hype is there anymore. I think it possibly has diminished a bit from the weekend. But Fowler's got to get through Fitzgerald, and that's not going to be an easy fight. Both obviously sparred each other at GB. Both have respectable pedigree, so that's going to be a good fight. That's probably the fight I'm most looking forward to on the Smith-Eglinton card. Likewise.
And you think that the Spaniard will be the acid test that if Anthony Fowler's going to come through, you think that Garcia is the benchmark?
No, I think he's going to go on to world honours. I don't think he's going to wait around for the lights. If he loses a fight at world level to a Munguia or a Charlo or a Hurd, then there's probably he'll stick around European level. But I think he'll probably move on now and try and get into that top 10, top 5 rankings, if I'm being brutally honest.
Yeah. Interesting. And what do you make of this weekend's fight? Tank Davis taking on Hugo Ruiz.
Yeah, I saw Abner Mares suffered a retina injury, so that's quite disappointing that fight didn't happen, because that would have been a great fight. I think Mares obviously stepping up from featherweight. Davis kind of hasn't really been active enough, and there's a lot of speculation about whether he's still got the hunger and the desire as a world champion. But he's an immense talent, and I just think I hope he hasn't been sidetracked. I know there's kind of dispute between the Mayweathers and like his contract obligations and stuff like that. But I think as if you just look at him as a fighter, he's very talented, and it would be disappointing if he was sidetracked by the fame and the money and the glamour that comes with him. He's obviously got a very dazzling image that he portrays in the US, and they haven't really, the US, developed that kind of marquee star, that markability that kind of we associate with Joshua in the UK. So it'd be good to see what kind of performance he puts on the weekend. I don't really know too much about his replacement, so I can't really comment on that. But no, I'd be looking forward to seeing him back in the ring.
Yeah, I mean, his replacement's coming up in weight, so really it's kind of a tough one for him. He is taller though, and he's got bigger range. But he's got taller and bigger range. But I think it'll definitely be one of those ones where he's out to perform. I think with Davis, it's a shame because he kicked on. If you remember after the Badu Jack DeGale, he was on the undercard for that, and he kind of kicked on and was like, "Yeah, I'm here," and then nothing. And that was nearly 2 years ago. Yeah, because that was 2017. So we're literally talking about 2 years since Mayweather said is he going to be a star, and he said absolutely. 2 years on, he's not produced that. But I do think a lot of it is down to his own self-discipline or lack of discipline, because Mayweather wanted him to stay in Vegas. He wanted to go out to back home and be around his friends and stuff, and I think that's had an impact. He's had a kid there, so this long layoff and things.
He's not the only one.
Yeah, but I'm not fighting in the ring. But exactly my point. So, and that's not what makes him ill-disciplined. Yeah. It's more the drinking, the partying. I mean, you see him with Adrian Broner. So, that says a lot. But no, Tom, appreciate your time. So listen, stay on the line, keep listening, and once Eubank Jr is on the line, we'll make sure we get the calls open.
Yeah, no worries. Best of luck, boys.
Cheers, man. Thank you very much.
Thanks for calling.
Cheers, thanks. And I know you said you didn't watch Kovalev fight in detail, and you just saw the highlights. But before we go, I want to talk about the Richard Commey fight, because that is a proud moment for all Ghanaians around the world. We now have 9 world champions coming out of the same area in Ghana. So it's kind of like the equivalent of 9 world champions coming out of
Lagos,
Harrow.
Nigeria.
No, not even Lagos, because Lagos is the city, but a specific area within that city. So it's like London, and imagine you have 9 world champions coming out of like Harrow or Willesden or whatever. So so for me, it's massive. It's third to fourth time of trying. He had a wicked fight against Robert Easter Jr., which really he kind of, I would say, was close. It could have been a draw for a rematch. He lost very close points decision. He was the away fighter. But this time around, he was for a vacant belt, IBF belt, fighting Chaniev, Russian, coming in with a high knockout percentage. And honestly, the bell started, and this Chaniev's got like a bit of a, not in some build, but it's like a Golovkin type of shape. And he lands one on Commey, and you're thinking, this he looks strong. And you can see, you could see it woke Commey up. And then Commey was like, okay, so then it was, honestly, it's probably one of the best fights of the year so far. They start trading. Okay, I'm being biased, but they start trading a little bit. And you can't see who's coming up. And I'm thinking, and Commey's legs were wide, and you're thinking, I was watching it, and obviously I'm backing him. I'm thinking, boy, how you can't do this for like the full 12 rounds? And then literally just before the end of the first round, he went bang. And it was like, whoa, out of nowhere, like flat on his face, on his back, and got up. Commey chased him down, but then the bell rang, so he got saved by the bell in that sense. Second round came, similar type of thing. Commey was on him, knocked him down, ref let him get back up, knocked him down again, ref let him get back up, and then he just literally was all over him, like hands, bees, everything was just, and the ref eventually waved it off. And I thought it was a fantastic achievement for somebody that's put a lot into the sport. A lot of people won't know Richard Commey could have been a footballer, but he kind of found a passion and love of boxing. Then looked into becoming a kickboxer.
Wow.
And again, it just happened to be boxing was the one thing he wanted to do. So, he's really come through the ranks. I do feel, and this is going to be my bit of note of this, I do think he's been stitched up a little bit, because the winner of that fight is going on to fight Lomachenko. Now, I think he's got the power to cause Lomachenko trouble, because we saw that. But it's the timing and the skill set. And that's a different sort of proposition when you're facing someone of Lomachenko's ability.
It's a different stratosphere,
Exactly, and your strategy, and it's not that they can't kind of do anything, but it's really going to be tough. So from my point of view, I would say, let's see what his team can do. Hopefully they can maybe negotiate something slightly better, and hopefully, and I'm saying hopefully, but maybe, you never know, they may be able to get a fight in between. But outside of that, I thought that was a really good performance. The other thing I want to talk about on the Matchroom card, if we go back to the Matchroom card, okay, Yeah. Okay, we'll just go back. Let's go to Kovalev. Sorry, I didn't even talk about that.
Yeah, avenging the loss against Alvarez was something he wasn't able to do against Andre Ward.
Mm-hmm.
Some would argue, myself included, no bias of course, that was quite undue in that respect.
Yep.
And there's still a bit of a life in the tank. There's still a bit of life left in the tank at age 35 now.
Yep.
And what caught my eye was that Anthony Yarde expressed his interest off the back of that win in looking at Kovalev. Do you think that's a bit of a premature step, or do you think its timing is perfect in boxing?
Yeah, good question. I would say what we saw on Saturday with Buddy McGirt in Kovalev's trade corner, I think it could be premature. I don't know whether he will still go for that because this is the first time we've seen Kovalev with Buddy, and clearly you could see, we all know the power is there, but he really was able to establish his jab.
He was.
And he dominated the fight. It's kind of like the Pacquiao-Broner. He just dominated the fight. Alvarez really couldn't have any answers for Kovalev. Even though he knocked him out, he wasn't able to get close and catch a punch, land a punch to catch him off his guard. For Yarde, I don't think he's going to take that fight next.
You don't? You think that's just sort of to build up buzz?
I think if anything, I think it's to get out, and it's going to lead into my next point. It's going to get out of fighting Buatsi. Now we all know Buatsi's been he's been announced. He's going to be fighting Conroy, for the British belt. But I know we'll go back to Kovalev. But for me, I don't think so. I mean, what do you think?
With regards to Buatsi?
Yarde and Kovalev.
Yarde and Kovalev.
Do you think it's the right time for Yarde to fight Kovalev?
I think it's funny you drew the parallel with Buatsi because Buatsi is a domestic level fighter that they're not going near, but Kovalev is a world level fighter. They're more interested in a world level than a domestic because the world level isn't possible if you can't get through that domestic. And that's not just exclusive to Buatsi. Callum Johnson is a no-go zone. Yeah. Obviously, Hosea Burton, things broke down. Yeah. Fair play. Buglioni is out the game completely. And that just leaves Buatsi and maybe our man Craig Richards. Who knows? Who knows?
And that's the thing. I think as much as you're saying that, I think he's now a contender because
he is 100%.
The British light heavyweight scene.
It's buzzing.
Exactly,
it's buzzing.
And you could, and there's a lot of how can I say it? There's a lot of opportunity. The real issue is that the cards that they're in, the stables that they're with. So if you're either Frank Warren or
it's not even so much the matchmaking; it's the stables. How do you say it? It's the Cold War?
Yeah, it's a Cold War, and it's the stables. And you look at you spoke about Hosea Burton. They couldn't make that fight.
I think there was also a bit of misfortune in that regard with Hosea Burton. I don't think it was entirely politics, unless you feel differently.
With Yarde, I'm good. I mean, I like Yarde. Cool guy, no issues with him at all. But I will say, I don't think he's in a rush for some of these fights. Yeah. I don't think he's in a rush for some of these fights. That's why I said the Kovalev is rubbish, because at best, you're going to get knocked out by Kovalev. Maybe, because, there's levels in the sense of you're not really an amateur boxer. You haven't fought at the highest level, world level. The kind of guys we've seen give Kovalev trouble are Olympic amateurs. Ward was, Alvarez was. So you're kind of saying to yourself, what's Anthony Yarde going to really come and do in this mix here? The power, I don't think, is going to be great for him. So I think, the Hosea Burton, I don't think he wants any of those guys. I think he wanted Buglioni. Yeah. Because they could see, you could see. And that's why I think you look at Richards. Richards took Buglioni.
And that's history now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I think they wanted that, and I think Buglioni didn't want it. But I think Hosea Burton, the way he lost to Buglioni was obviously it was a last round thing. Yeah. So I think they're confident against the Yarde. And I think, unfortunately for Yarde, he's a great boxer, but he's like Dubois. He hasn't had enough amateur pedigree, and I think that...
He hasn't, where someone like Buatsi... I don't even need to say anything. The Olympics and everything is self-explanatory.
And they're massively, massively excited over at Sky about Buatsi. They
justifiably so.
Yeah, they really want to back him. They want him to headline cards. I think they actually wanted him to headline this card, actually, I think. The Cheeseman card. I think Adam Smith's mentioned that. So that was interesting. And then we'll go from there. But Kovalev, I thought he done his piece. Just to quickly go on to the predictions for Gervonta Davis. I mean, I don't see anything other than a Davis win, probably early stoppage. What's your point?
I I think against Francisco, he was rocked in the 7th, and he had to get the stoppage. He obviously didn't meet the weight, so that meant forfeiting the belt. And that, in light with the weight issues, the beef with Mayweather, or supposed beef with Mayweather, and mentality issues, that all compounded together. It's not like it's one issue.
Yeah.
Someone like Gervonta Davis has fought once in 2018. From what they said 2 years ago, to use your quote, which you said,
exactly.
It's it doesn't happen by accident.
It doesn't happen. So there's a lot happening there. So, but I think he needs to kick on.
You reckon?
I think he needs to kick on now. I think he needs to have this fight. Obviously, the Abner Mares was going to be a reasonable challenge for him. Unfortunately,
some stability, no?
Yeah, but I think with the Abner Mares, I think he's going to have problems because he's got another eye injury, and it's the other eye this time. So I think that's going to be. You're talking about eye injuries in the world of boxing. I think you got to be careful there.
Mr. Brook.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And he took it off people like Golovkin and Errol
Spence Jr. Yeah. So sorry, I've just opened up to Tom. Let him. But yeah, I think for me, you look at. Oh, sorry, mate. Tom's on mute. I'll put him on mute. So yeah, I think with Davis. I think his next fight has to be a farmer or I'm saying Lomachenko, but it needs to be somebody that holds a belt, somebody that is dangerous, somebody that is going to get people excited.
Yeah.
Because you've got the right skill set, and it's probably something he needs to kind of challenge himself as well. He was on the. Sorry, Karen.
No, you don't think he needs some fine tuning before that? Because that year gap at this stage of his career. Do you know the thing is? Do that?
I would say yes, and I'll tell you why. Because Abner Mares, he was prepared to fight Abner Mares.
That is true.
So it's only Abner Mares that pulled out in the last 2 weeks. So he's fine-tuned himself. Now you're probably right in saying when he fights Ruiz, he's not going to be the ability of Mares, but let's let him get through it. I think the one thing is if he as a fighter feels it, okay, maybe I'm being putting pressure on him, but I feel that he can get a fight, and I think he should be chasing the challenges. I don't think he needs fine-tune.
Yeah.
I don't think he needs a tune-up. And I always say, there's other guys that have had 1-2 fights come back. He wasn't injury-bound, wasn't drugs. It was just weight and laziness. So actually, what was preventing him? It was his own mindset. Yeah. So that's just my opinion anyway.
Politics behind the scenes, but as far as equalisers go, do you feel that someone, Gervonta Davis, is 23, 24?
Yeah, he's again that kind of age.
Do you think someone that had 25 odd fights, age 30, had a year, not a year layoff, but one fight a year, they could rely on their experience to sort of be the equaliser, so to speak, against ring rust? Whereas someone like Gervonta, for myself, is very inexperienced at this stage and very young. And to catapult into, I know what you're saying completely, that he has to penetrate the big time, he has to fight a name.
Yeah.
And if not a name, for a belt.
Yes, yeah.
And one of the two, either way, how is ring rust going to be offset with experience? Is he in a position to neutralise the ring rust with experience? I don't think so, but you believe so with ability?
Yeah, I think so.
You believe the hype?
Not the hype. I've seen him fight twice against Walsh, and I saw him fight in Washington DC against when Theophane fought Broner. I was at that fight, and I could see he's got the talent. I think he just needs the dedication. I mean, look, we're not talking about, in my opinion, we're not talking about Lomachenko. I think when they were touted him to fight Lomachenko, I thought, no, that's way too dangerous.
Yeah.
But the thing about the Lomachenko fight is that we've seen Linares rock him.
Of course.
And we saw Pedraza go 12 rounds with him.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, I'm not saying he's not invincible, because he was coming in, stopping guys were quitting.
Yeah.
He's already lost, so there's a way to beat him. I'm not saying Davis is doing that, but I think Davis, if he's got the right mindset, I think he could cause a lot of upset. And he's a world champion. And he was, the youngest world champion when he won that belt at the time?
He was. Yeah.
So, he's there. I believe in him. I think he's got flaws, of course, but I think he can. I think he needs to go for Tevin Farmer. I think that's a ready-made beef. The problem is going to be DAZN, because, and I'm saying DAZN only because they're going to have a lot of money to put that up.
Of course.
But I think for me that would be the best fight to make,
and that would do numbers stateside.
Oh, big
I don't
time.
think people realise how big that would do, even at this stage of Gervonta's career.
Oh, big time.
But one thing you said about the politics behind the scenes, Gervonta felt that Mayweather wanted to get rid of his coach so that he could be seen as the lead role in the camp, so to speak.
Yeah.
Do you think that Mayweather should back off and let Gervonta take the reins, or do you think it's the other way around? But at the same time, doesn't Gervonta have to play ball because it's off Mayweather's what's the opposite of stigma? Through the reputation of Mayweather,
exactly,
he's using that to catapult himself.
Yeah.
So he needs Floyd more than Floyd needs him.
And
but
I like
do you
that.
think he's sort of abusing his power to an extent?
No, I like that because I think you've answered the question correctly.
Don't bite the hand.
I think you've answered it yourself. And we've got Craig Richards on the line, so I want to definitely go to him. But I think that's a great question. But I think you said the answer.
Yeah.
He needs Mayweather doesn't need him as much.
Don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Exactly. And he's an experienced guy. So listen, we're opening up to Craig Richards. Craig, how you doing, sir?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad.
Congratulations.
Exactly.
Congratulations.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Have you recovered?
I just finished icing my face and I'm joking. Yeah, I'm good. I'm recovered and rested.
Nice. So, obviously we were both there. I don't think you would have noticed either of us, but you had a massive fan base there, so that was fantastic to see.
My ears haven't recovered from that.
Exactly.
I mean, that was crazy. Big up, man. Big up.
Honestly, yeah, they really set the
fans
scene.
are passionate.
Oh, good.
And
you need that because that's what you can help. That can help you move forward. But I'm not going to ask you too much about the camp. But what I do want to ask you is, was the result a surprise for you?
The result
in the way it happened.
Surprise, but maybe the intensity of the fight was a shock to me.
Yeah.
I did think I could either get him out between 1 to 3, or it'll be a late stoppage. But I thought maybe I would do it maybe as he was coming forward and was maybe on a trade or something like that. But I made it as clean and clinical as I could.
Definitely.
Do you feel, Craig, that when you put him down in the first round, did you feel that you'd matured as a fighter to not jump on him straight away and take your time, knowing that you had time to systematically take him down?
100%. As you go on in your career more, you become more seasoned automatically. So I kind of, it's just natural to not do a novice thing like jump on him or panic. It's about relaxing and breaking down systematically. It's like someone always says to me, it's like a bomb expert putting out a bomb. You wouldn't rush it. You got to be careful. You do everything systematically, defuse the bomb and go home. It's the same thing, really. Yeah. You got to do it in a way, and we're trained fighters, so that's what it's about.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, it may not be well documented, but we know you've stepped up from super middle to light heavyweight. How is that going for you? I mean, clearly you got the win, so the power's transitioning, but are you doing anything specific in your training to make sure you keep that power? Because you were a powerful puncher at super middleweight as well.
No, I just literally naturally, I'm naturally light heavyweight.
And naturally strong, yeah?
It's just, naturally strong too. No, I just naturally back up my weight now. So I just always train very hard, eating the right food, and just doing what I'm supposed to do, and just building every fight, getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And that's what it's about, really. Just keep capitalizing. And it was like the fight is a statement because everyone wanted to know if I was strong enough at light heavyweight, stepping up from super middleweight, and to fight one of the biggest guys at light heavyweight, one of the biggest punchers at light heavyweight, and to dispatch of him and beat in power and strength, why it shows that I'm a natural light heavyweight.
Oh, big time.
Yeah. And Craig, do you feel that Frank Buglioni fight was a necessary stepping stone for you to put off the kind of performance that you did on Saturday? I mean, in terms of your development, do you think that could have been a long, drawn-out affair if you hadn't had that sort of... Sometimes you need setbacks to push you forward. Do you think that was necessary?
I'm not sure if it was necessary, the Buglioni fight, to get performances like that, but it did obviously make me work on different things. It's like at times if I hurt Buglioni in the fight, maybe I could have jumped on the opportunities as maybe certain regrets. So it kind of changed the mindset of myself. As you noticed, since the Buglioni fight, I've had all my stoppages within 3 rounds. All 4 fights since Buglioni's not gone past 3 rounds. So it's made me have a different mindset to get the job done as soon as I can.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, obviously, looking back on the knockdown, I mean, I remember seeing the first round against Jake Paul. I felt it was very cagey. You know, one of those fights that you kind of sussing each other out, kind of just playing, a bit of fencing in the middle, just not really kind of attacking. And I mean, you just landed that right from nowhere, and then bang. I mean, did you feel the fight was going to be over then? I mean, do you give him credit for getting up? Yeah, how did it come about? Talk us through it.
I was watching that before, and I realised he was open for that. So it was something I did plan to throw and seeing how he would respond to it. I did feel like I'd put him down. Didn't know if I'd get him out there or not, or he'd stay down, but I knew I'd hurt him with that shot. That's why the first thing I said when I went to the corner to beat, as soon as I told you I catch him with that shot, I said it to him the night before that I was going to catch him with that shot. The reason the fight, he, as you saw probably maybe on social media, maybe never, he was adamant that he wanted to meet me in the middle.
Yes, I saw that.
See if I'm big enough or strong enough. Yeah. So for me, I came to engage straight away. He was creeping backwards. As I say, I'm not a novice pro. I'm not going to run in and make errors. I was creeping in to engage. He was moving out. The first moment he engaged back with me is when I dropped him. So it was a bit cagey because he was being slightly negative. And I was pushing the fight. But obviously, first round, you're both still cold. You don't want to make any silly errors. So I couldn't push it fast, but I was still trying to engage.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, and I think off the back of Saturday evening, you're most definitely been catapulted into that top 4 now in the domestic scene. Yeah. Do you believe that that's now a closed chapter? So outside of yourself, Anthony Yard, Josh Buatsi and Callum Johnson, are those the sort of guys that you're going to be wanting to get in the mix with? Or do you feel that you want to sort of go and have maybe a tune-up fight just before stepping up to that level?
Well, I don't pick my fights. Of course, it's always interesting. Everyone wants to know who's the best out of me, Anthony Yard and Joshua Buatsi and Callum Johnson. But it's not for me to dictate of who's my next fight and who I should fight or who I should beat to prove I'm the best. I believe it's one of those situations that I just got to stay grounded, listen to my management team and see what sort of fights they want to put me on and they think that I'm ready for. As everyone knows, put me in any fight, I'm willing to go as soon as I get the green light. But I've got to be smart as a fighter and just listen to my team. They've been in the game longer than I have. They know the game better than I have. So it's just for me to listen to instructions and go when they tell me to.
Yeah, no, and I think that's definitely some wise words. I think, you look at the team, you look at the progress. The Buglioni fight was, about a year ago? And now you've gone on to the WBA.
Well over a year ago.
Yeah.
And to take it on 5 days' notice, the difficulty of that fight for me is that taking it on 5 days' notice, not having a camp, I didn't get to display what I was really about.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was going to say. So, with the frustration, because we've seen the press conference in the weigh-ins, we saw your frustrations with Jake Paul, pulling out of the previous fights. On the actual fight night, were there any frustrations at all? Did you feel like, I want to punish this guy for messing me about? Or were you just calm and thought, this is the time for me to show the UK public what I'm about?
For me, I took my feelings and emotions out of the fight with Jake, and it was all about displaying a professional performance. I took my feelings out and just wanted everyone to see finally stuff I've been doing in the gym constantly and what my level really is and my talent. I know he was talking in the week saying there's levels to this, and this is why I was laughing. I knew there was levels to it, and I just need to prove to the British public the difference between me and Jake Paul that we wasn't. I remember at one point I had a fight and I heard the commentary say at one point something like, he'd be a good fight with the likes of Jake Paul and that. And I thought, the likes of Jake Paul, is that the category they're putting me in? And I thought, well, we mix. I'm going to have to show I'm not in the category of the likes of Jake Paul. Definitely. I'm well above that, and that's what I did Saturday night. No,
100%. You definitely did that, Craig. And listen, we're going to move on because we've got another caller coming through. But thank you very much for calling in and give us a bit of time. Hopefully we get you in the studio in the next few weeks as well when we talk a bit more about boxing.
Definitely, man. Good speaking to you guys.
Perfect.
Well done, Craig. Fantastic.
Cheers. Bye-bye. Bye. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Kojo.
Hi, Emily. It's Kojo speaking. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Shall I put Chris on the line?
Yes, please.
You ready?
Yep, we're ready.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
All right. He's just finished the spar, so it might sound a little noisy, but yeah.
No worries. That's fine. We're patient enough. Appreciate your help as well.
How do you want this?
No, obviously I'm not doing that.
You don't look for it.
Huh?
It's live.
Yeah, hello.
Hi, Chris.
How you doing, man?
How you doing, sir? You well?
Got there in the end.
No way.
In the middle of a training session. I just finished sparring 10 rounds, so you got me at a pretty convenient time.
I was going to say, are you your freshest or are you tired? You full of energy?
No, I'm not. I just did 10 hard rounds, so I'm actually pretty I'm tired, but I'm feeling good.
Good.
In great shape. This is the most focused training camp I've had in my career, so I'm on point.
Good. And again, Chris, thanks for joining Raps on TV. We had interviewed you about 18 months ago, and really good, really great feedback from the fans. Obviously, we were speaking to you now in preparation for the James DeGale fight. Just want to talk to you quickly. How's camp been so far?
It's been going great, man. The training, the preparation, the focus, the tailored training camp.
Mm-hmm.
It's finally having a proper trainer working with me day in, day out, 7 days a week. I'm really seeing the differences, and I can't wait to show I can put everything into action in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, and I mean, it's well documented. Obviously, you're now working with Nate Vasquez. I just wanted to ask, obviously, how's the training going, which you said is great, but why did you decide to work with him, and what skill set does he bring to you that you feel he can improve?
I went over to Vegas over the summer. I spent about 2-3 months there. And I watched him train. I wasn't actually going out there looking for a trainer. I went out there to just do what I always do at Floyd's gym, work out, be around, top level fighters, hang out with Floyd and them. And he caught my eye with the training he was doing with certain fighters in the gym. And so, after a couple of weeks, I was like, you know what, let me try this guy out. So we started doing pad work. He started taking me on the bags and, just talking about boxing in general. And we just clicked. I liked his mindset. I liked his philosophy on the sport. I liked his mentality. And, we worked for the whole summer together. Went back to England, ended up flying him out. Now he's living with me. He's been living with me for a couple of months now. So it's going real good.
Oh.
Good evening, Chris. You've always been the favourite going into all of your fights. Does that fact that the bookies still hold you in such high regard incentivise you going into the fight against James DeGale?
I don't look at betting odds and people's opinions on who's the better fighter. All I do is focus on the task at hand. Being the best fighter I can be, preparing in the most effective fashion. If people say I'm the favourite, then that's great, but I have to go in there and do the job.
Of course.
Yeah, and that's it. And I think that's what the camp is about. So we're going to go back a little bit and just talk about the DeGale. I think our listeners would be very interested to hear the animosity between you and DeGale. I mean, it's well documented. There was a sparring session. We've seen snippets of the face-off. So just talk to me. Is this grudge real? And also, how was the face-off that you guys filmed on the weekend?
Do I look like an actor to you?
Well, with the jacket, you're looking like Bane a little bit, Chris.
This is not a game. Everything about me is real.
Yeah.
Boxing is the realest sport on the planet. I'm not pretending to not like this guy. We have a genuine beef, or we don't get along, and that's what makes this such a grudge match. It's been going on for years. We had this sparring session years and years ago. I went over to his gym in Essex and I beat him up around his gym. Ended up getting kicked out of his gym by him and his teammates. And ever since then, every time we've seen each other, there's been problems. So I'm just happy that we finally get to settle things once and for all. He's been ducking and dodging me for years. So now we finally got the fight. I'm happy.
Yeah. And in terms, I appreciate you won't be able to say much because it's due to be documented, but the face-off, what can we expect? Intense? A lot of good articulate quotes from yourself?
Listen, I went to private school, so I know how to talk.
Yeah.
He clearly didn't, and you guys will see that in the interview. The guy is, he's comical, man. It's some of the things he says, just the way he acts. It's it's a very entertaining episode. You guys are gonna, it's serious, but at the same time, it's funny. He makes it funny. It's two completely opposite characters in a room, sitting across the table from each other, talking it up, and it's very, and it's real. It's 100% real. So it'll be out in a week or so you guys will get to see it.
Yeah, no, looking forward to that.
No, most definitely looking forward to that. So off the basis of the fact there is no love lost between yourself and James, Do you believe that James is waiting for that one last payday to sail off into the sunset, or do you feel that that hunger is still there prior to when he won his first title? From your perception,
I think he's still hungry.
You feel he's still hungry?
I think he's still hungry. I'm looking in the man's eyes, and I see he wants to win. This is no kind of I'm just going to get some money and quit. This guy wants it.
That's good.
And I think he's the type of fighter that rises to the occasion. In his last couple of fights, he's fought mediocre guys he probably didn't respect, and that affected his performance. I think he just underestimated these guys. With me, he knows I'm a live wire. He knows I'm dangerous, so he's going to be training like a madman for this fight. And I expect to see the best James DeGale that we've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
And in terms of, just going off of that, you said obviously you're working with Vasquez now, that you expect to see the best James DeGale. In terms of yourself, is so far, do you feel the preparation is the best you've had, and that the world will see the best Chris Eubank Jr. And that's from...
I believe.
Yeah.
I believe this is the most focused, the most tailored, the most professional training camp I've had in my entire career. I've always been super fit. I've always been super dedicated in all my training camps. But this training camp is it's all tailored to what James DeGale is. I've never really had that before.
That's interesting.
In my career, I've just blanketed my training techniques and my training sessions. They've been the same to each and every fighter. Spar whoever you can get super fit, go in there and beat the guy up.
Yeah.
For this fight here, we're working on strategy, we're working on technique, we're working on game plan. So I think you guys are going to see a whole new Chris Eubank Jr. in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to that. And can I just ask, in terms of you're talking about the focus and the game plan and preparing for opponents, so to speak. Looking at that now, do you feel that you could have done that earlier, or do you feel that actually this is the right time to start that preparation, that type of preparation?
Yeah. Everything happens for a reason. I don't regret the path I've taken. I've had, how could I? I've had so much success. I've had so many great fights, so many great wins. So everything happens for a reason. But at this stage in my career, at this level, I believe you can't afford to give your opponent any type of advantage, and that's what I've been giving to all of my opponents by not having a trainer. So we're not doing that anymore. Now I have a trainer, and now I will prepare effectively for each and every opponent from now on. So
perfect.
I'm in a good place.
Good.
Yeah, it's interesting how you touched on that your strategy was tailored specifically towards James DeGale for this fight. And do you feel that you're looking to send out a statement, a technical statement to the world, as opposed to the athleticism onus?
Listen, I've got to go out there and win by any means necessary.
By any means necessary.
Physically, mentally, I've got to dominate this guy in every aspect. I have to win. This is a do or die fight for me in my career. I can't afford a flat performance, let alone a loss. So I'm treating this like, this is the most important part of my career.
Yeah, I have to say, Chris, I think it's great that you've got that mindset. I do think, and I think this is in my opinion, it is a 50-50 fight. I think you're both coming from different places. I think you could probably say youth and momentum is with yourself, but obviously the experience is with DeGale, and that's what makes it such a great fight and a great clash to watch. And I'll be there, of course. But just to talk about, to go back slightly, if you look at your similar opponents in George Groves, do you feel that you can take a lot of sort of like points or I guess like tactical approach from the fact that DeGale always falls short against the type of fighter like a George Groves?
Listen, DeGale's had a lot of success in his career. I'm not focusing on his past performances. I'm focusing on what I need to do to win. I've studied him. He's a solid, experienced fighter, and I'm preparing to every aspect of the game. So you guys are going to be in for an epic fight.
Yeah,
fantastic. We look forward to it, most definitely.
We definitely look forward to that. And like I said, hopefully the rest of camp goes fantastically well. Look forward to seeing you down there on Fight Week and at the weigh-in. And like I just want to say thank you for your time today, Chris. And honestly, just want to wish you all the best. I know you've had a hard 10-round session, so we won't keep you for too long. But yeah, just to say thank you very much for your time and wish you all the best. And we are looking to do that merchandise competition, but I'll be in touch with Emily about that.
Okay, guys, I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
No worries. Catch you.
Cheers. Thanks, Chris. Bye. So I think can't say fairer than that. I think he came in, really performed in terms of giving us his explanation. Seems like he's training fantastically hard.
It seems like a very different Chris Eubank.
I was going to say the aura, right? It seems quite.
It's very different.
I think that's a good thing. I think it's good that he's now a bit more tailored. I think it's great that he's got a bit of energy as well. I felt he's always interviewed quite well, but I felt at this particular moment, I felt that, he sounds like a lot more positive.
The hunger is definitely
but
there.
This Vasquez is going to be a bit of an unknown for DeGale, because now you're talking about a guy that you can't really plan for. You're talking about a guy that's going to be looking at your weaknesses. He's got a trainer that is going to be looking at your weaknesses. So, just still makes for such a really, really intriguing fight. And I look forward to it.
It's interesting if we flip that onto the other side of the coin. If DeGale has modified his game plan specifically for Junior, or is DeGale just going to go in as a flat rate approach? It's difficult to predict.
And I do think the age of DeGale might potentially be an option.
Catch up with him.
That's just my personal opinion, but there's no facts on that. So So guys, listen, we're going to wrap up for today, but I appreciate all of the support as per usual. We're back next week. Don't forget to check us out on Raps on TV, social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Don't forget to check out this live interview with Chris Eubank Jr. It's been great. We had Craig Richards on the show as well. And we've got some news for you during the week for our guest next week. So, guys, we're out. Rafi?
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Look forward to seeing you next week.
Cheers.